Hello there, and welcome to Pink Milk, your Star Wars podcast for us super fans.
And those of us who are forced to listen to them.
Today is someday, and someday we're talking religion and Star Wars with Dais Johnston from Inverse.com. Get ready, it's time to drink up.
Drink up.
Hello there, Pop Pop.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, my triple hellos. I love
Happy
them.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Oh my God, this is our first episode in 2020.
Well, you don't have to call me God, but yes, you are correct.
Well, call
I
me
am
God.
not, oh my God.
Sometimes you are. And speaking of God, this is the perfect episode to bring up Oh My God.
Oh, my religion.
Welcome to Pink Milk. I'm your host, Brian. With me, as always, is my better half and your better host, Thomas.
Hello.
I am so excited for people to listen to this.
This is a good one. I have to be honest.
It's pretty cool. We are about to hear a brilliant person by the name of Dais Johnston and their work on Inverse.com. You may be familiar with it. If you are, and that's what brought you here, welcome. Honestly, it's a great interview. It's a really great talk. This person is a gigantic ray of sunshine.
Extremely inspirational, very thought-provoking, and you know how I always say, hey, when I'm watching something or listening to something, I want to be moved. I want to not be in the same place. I want to have garnered something. And this is absolutely a great example of that kind of interview. I literally feel in a different place after speaking with them. Amazing. I'm impressed.
100%.
And you guys are all going to be impressed as well.
I mean, 100%. What a great podcast.
Yes.
That you and I have for the start of 2021. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly.
Blessed and lucky.
I love their perspective on not only Star Wars, but you can tell their perspective on life is really just something to put in the back of my mind while I munch on how I'm going to move forward this next year. I mean, honestly, I'm serious. It's going to be great. So I'm very, very excited. Before you get into this, if you have not given us a review on Apple Podcasts, please do so. Leave us a written comment as well because we like to read them. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at servingpinkmilk. You can go to our website at servingpinkmilk.com and you can send us an email from there if you want to. Also, don't forget on Fridays, we do a live stream. So you can go to youtube.com/C/pinkmilk podcast and find us there. And Mark and I on Friday nights deep dive into Star Wars. And after this interview, I hope they enjoyed themselves and they will be interested in coming back because I think we touch on Jedi at the very end of this conversation. I'm like, I had to end it because I will go on for another hour. But I want them to speak with Em because Emma has a very hot take of the Jedi. I feel the same way. Em's just so much more brilliant than I am, so she always says things better than I do. But
She's
true.
Impressive, I gotta say. I was gonna say it's true, but I was like, wow, that might not come out that great.
It's the truth. It is what it is. Yeah, I'm very, very excited. We had an episode a few weeks ago, right, where we kind of talked about your Catholic upbringing and how that's shifted you as a queer person. We touch on it again today, and I think there's some really good stuff here. So if you're ready to talk some Star Wars and religion, keep on listening because it's going to get good. Are you ready, Thomas?
I'm ready, Brian.
All right, drink up.
Drink up.
Hello there, everyone. Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
We have a great guest. We have Dais Johnston from Inverse.com with us today to talk some Star Wars and some religion. How are you, Dais?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And
Yep,
thank you for that great article with Katie O'Brien where you gave us a nice little shout out. That was a very exciting morning. And we were very, very appreciative. And it was a great article. And I didn't see Katie's body on the ground, so she may still be with us.
We were still watching at the season finale to see if she was there when Grief. What was his name? The death. I forgot his name already. The guy who was holding.
Muffin Top Gideon?
Yeah, him. That guy there. You'll get this when it comes to Star Wars. I mix up the names of people a lot, but nonetheless, I know he mentioned that everybody was dead on deck there. So, but we didn't see her. So fingers crossed for Katie.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind
Fingers
of
crossed.
a deal. Until we see a body, we can't assume anything.
Never believe it.
We need to start watching Dave Filoni's shirts. I don't know if either one of you follow Dave Filoni enough, but Dave Filoni likes to give clues with his T-shirts and interviews.
Serious?
Uh-huh.
I never heard that. All right, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Dave Filoni announced Ahsoka's coming back years ago with Ahsoka Lives ? And then later, after an intermission, it was Ahsoka Lives, I think with an exclamation point, and then we announced it. It was pretty great.
Okay, that's cool.
It was pretty great. I'm a gigantic Dave Filoni stan. Yeah.
You gotta love a wolf guy. Sometimes
Always.
a wolf guy is a wolf guy.
Always, especially if you're a wolf guy in a cowboy hat. That's just like
Exactly.
opposite.
The brand is strong.
Oh, all right. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we dig into the super nerddom?
Yeah, so I'm Dais. I am an entertainment writer and reporter. I mostly on a day-to-day basis, I find Star Wars theories that I think are interesting, and I try to expand on them, try to find evidence for them, try to explain them as best as I can. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're just fun to think about. I have a really, really cool job, and I'm really excited that I get to just be a Star Wars nerd professionally. And I also write about, international Netflix things is another big passion of mine. But over the past year, I've really gotten into Star Wars, and I'm currently trying to read as many EU novels in a row as possible. So it's a fun time.
Current stuff or Legends?
Oh, Legends.
Wow.
I'm halfway through Dark Force Rising at the moment.
That's some cool stuff. Well, especially now the Legends is like being pulled in like a lot. They made such a big deal of saying it's not canon, and now we're pulling in
Yeah,
so much stuff.
study up.
I still have a lot to learn with canon. I was never, or with Legends. Like I'm always aware of everything going on, but I read 5 or 6 of the 832 Legends books that are out there. Usually the big ones. I know the big ones. The big one.
That's what matters.
Shadows of the Empire was fun. Have you read that one yet?
I'm not there yet. I'm excited.
Okay. So I'm old, and I remember like it was quite the big deal. Like they had toys, a video game, a soundtrack. It was a very, very big deal, and a purple card, which was very exciting in the 90s. So how did you get into entertainment writing?
So I've always been passionate about TV in particular. I had a very sheltered upbringing. I was actually raised in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I was a Navy kid.
Oh, cool.
So we didn't have a lot of stuff to do. So I would hunker down with just box sets of I Love Lucy and The Twilight Zone and old Doctor Who episodes, and would just kind of like study up. And then over the years, the more I got into, thinking about storytelling, I got to college and I was like, I'm a theater kid through and through. I can't not do this. So I majored in theater. I basically worshipped Joseph Campbell, which goes right into Star Wars. So I couldn't not. And I just wanted to talk about TV, and here I am.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. What was that whole, like, did you have to interview and go through all those things with Inverse?
It was a really, really fun process where they're like, okay, here are 3 theories that we think are worthy of an article, write one into an article. So, of course, I picked one about Inception, which I had never seen before. So I watched Inception for the first time, and then I wrote about it. I thought, you know what, if I'm going to get this job, I need to make sure that I can do the most difficult stuff. So I did that, and it worked out. They asked me to pitch 10 ideas, and I did that. And one of them was, you know, what about like Star Wars and religion? You know, what's the intersection there? So it's always been something that's kind of been on my mind. But everyone there is so great, and it's really helped me become a better writer, a better reader, a better watcher, and a better fan in general.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. We started this podcast, what, Tom, like a little over a year ago, last November. And I've been like a lifelong Star Wars super fan and connect to it on a lot of levels. But I have to say, like, having a podcast and talking about it in front of a microphone for over a year has definitely shifted the way I watch it. It's interesting. Like, it's always been super personal, and now to try to like talk about it as really personal, because we do a lot of that on Pink Milk. It's very much our view of the stuff, you know, and hopefully other people can relate to that too. But like being a little more objective is really interesting. And then Tom, who is a casual fan at best, is becoming a bigger fan while we're doing this, I think, which is pretty cool.
You know, Dais, you just said something that just made me want to ask this question, dig a little bit deeper here. Like Brian said, our podcast is really built on the premise of, obviously, we're husbands. And, you know, Brian is really a super fan. Brian and I have been together over 13 years now. We have a family. But since, first upon meeting him, you know, he had told me the importance of Star Wars. And essentially, and I will tell you that he did refer to it as Star Wars being basically his religion in a way. So you just said something that made me think. It made you, through the course of what you've just been through as long as you've been writing the article and that they'd asked you to do, it made you a better fan. So I am the one who Brian's the super fan. I am forced to listen, which obviously is a play on the force. Yeah. But, and, you know, I'm not forced to listen, but I'm forced to listen in a way because I live it every day with my husband. So how did what you've just gone through make you a better fan? Because I would need to know that. How would it make me a better fan?
Well, it's something that I think about like every single screenwriting class I ever took, where the first thing that any professor would say, the first thing would be, this will affect the way that you look at stories for the rest of your life. If you don't want to have their entire lens on that changed, you might want to switch classes. Because now anytime that I watch any movie, I think about, whoa, what if this, and like, what if this is actually like a Greek myth story? Or what if Snowpiercer is actually Willy Wonka retold? All these sorts of...
Wow.
Seriously?
Okay.
That's a major fan theory that people have. I've written about how Uncut Gems is an Icarus story. Oh. I've written about how Palm Springs, like time travel theories with that. One of my most favorite things I've ever written was, do you remember Happiest Season? It was a lesbian rom-com that came out about a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the comedy relief was that the sister kept talking about this nonsense fantasy novel that she's writing. So for one of my articles, my editor and I like sat down and tried to decipher the plot of that novel from the little lines that we get throughout the movie. So all these sorts of things makes me look at things more like analytically, but also more enthusiastically. We're trying to like zap the cynicism out of it, trying to just be like unabashedly enthusiastic about what we love and the stories that they tell.
I love that. So this is not one of the questions I asked, but now that you said that, you're pretty active on Twitter.
I love my Twitter.
And Tom is not on Twitter at all.
It's my
that
goal
might
for
change.
2021.
But I'm fairly new. I got onto Twitter really when we started the podcast. So back in November, my first real, I mean, I had made an account forever ago, but I was not on it. And my introduction to Twitter was after the Rise of Skywalker. So we now in Star Wars Twitterland, I understand the SS show that was. It was interesting because I love that you said you are an unabashed fan of what makes you happy in something. And Twitter seems to be the antithesis of that a lot of times. And I'm always curious, like why is that? Like, I'm not the biggest fan of The Rise of Skywalker these days, but I love certain things, and the things that I love, I love. And so that's what I focus on. You acknowledge the stuff that's and maybe problematic here or there, but like, how do you go about, you know what I mean, being less critical of the things you don't like about something and more passionate about the things that you do? And what does that bring you as a writer and you as a person?
Well, I mean, as a entertainment writer, you have to be critical because, you're a critic and you need to tell people. But at the same time, I think that you need to be really discerning with how you accept things. Like, I reviewed Ratched for Netflix, which I really didn't like, but I love the costumes. So I wrote a thing being like, this is worth a watch because those dresses are so pretty. I love those dresses so much. And or trying to see I think that flaws in any kind of movie, any kind of TV show, I love watching bad movies because I like to find what makes them work kind of and what they did wrong. Mm-hmm. I feel like watching anything is a valuable use of my time because you can compare and contrast it to anything else and be like, here's what it does correctly, here's what it does incorrectly, and use that to go forward, whether you're just a fan and just working on, media criticism, or if you're a creator and being like, okay, this is something I should not do in the future.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
And 100%. In terms of Twitter is what you make of it. If you want to navigate the discourse, good on you. That is not what my thing is. I am there to make goofs and be in group chats where we watch Rebels. And I'm in a Zoom internet theater with my Twitter friends. We're doing a live reading of an episode of The Office, an episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Wow.
I love it.
Twitter is what you make of it.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned that now. I think my Twitter experience more often than not has been really wonderful. We've had some hits, but again, like you said, it's what you make of it. And, at the end of the day, for me, everyone's a bunch of strangers. So I can choose to enjoy the positive things, and the negative things, I know who I am. And if you want to make something out of nothing, that says more to you than it does to me, and that's fine. Then I can move on with my life. It's not always easy right when you're in the middle of it, but the minute you can pull yourself out, I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's Star Wars is a part of me loves how passionate people are about Star Wars, and they care that much to get that happy about it or that upset about it. I love that it brings those kinds of emotions out, but sometimes it's more when people try to take away from somebody else. That's the stuff that bothers me. If I don't like The Rise of Skywalker, I love to talk about The Rise of Skywalker with people that love it because I want to learn to love the things that I did not like. So if I can understand a different perspective, I can go, oh, well, I didn't see X, Y, or Z that way. And now I do, and now I can really enjoy it. And it's a lot more fun to be happy than to be upset. So,
yes, challenging myself to be excited about things that normal people wouldn't be excited about is something that I'm trying to practice more and more. I think it can help you even in your day-to-day life and seeing, Pollyanna-ing the situations you find yourself in.
100%.
I think that's a great quote. I love it. I'm going to steal that one, by the way. Because I myself, I always like to, and maybe it's my upbringing, maybe it was my religion, I'm not sure, but I really always like to stay in the positive. Glass is half full. It's not half empty. I don't want to be bothered. If there's a bunch of people talking negative or smack about a movie or something like that, my mindset has always been, oh, don't come near me. Don't bring that energy to me. And one thing you just said, this is like the second time now, so I feel like I'm going to be listening to your interview many times because you've got so many awesome nuggets here, so thank you for that. But Dais, you just mentioned Twitter is what you make of it, and you haven't been in my house in the last year, and there has been a push-pull back and forth with regards to Twitter. There's like you hear the president of the United States and Twitter and everybody on the news and their take on it, and they don't speak positive about it. And then sometimes they do, depending on who you're listening to. Brian has experienced some ups and downs, absolutely some fantastic things. And I think he speaks very highly of Twitter these days because of it. But he had a situation at one point in time where I just put my hand up and I said, oh, no, I won't do that now. But it's interesting. Something as simple as what you just said, Twitter is what you make of it. And you yourself spoke about the community and how it almost in a way it's enriched your life. It sounds like it. So that's been super positive. So thank you for that, for sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely been, there are days when, an article goes up that people don't like and they have my Twitter info and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go watch a couple episodes of Letterkenny and then I'm going to come back and it will all be chill. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But more often than not, the people that I follow, I've curated my community very, very well that I feel like I can go there to escape, which is not usually what people think about Twitter.
Wow.
I'm getting there myself, actually. I've learned to unfollow.
It's a process.
So, have you watched? You said you're watching Rebels. Tom just started his Rebels journey this year. I'm very excited for him. Have you watched all of it?
Yes, we've gotten to the end of Rebels, and our little group watch is working through Resistance.
Okay, very nice. I'm sure you said you watched old episodes of Doctor Who, so I'm sure you're very excited about Mr. Bendu.
I haven't watched that yet.
No, in Rebels.
Oh! I thought you were giving me spoilers about freaking the New Year's special.
No. Bendu from Rebel, the big moose dude.
Yeah,
voiced by what's his name? Some doctor.
And you can't forget that Hu Yang from Clone Wars is David Tennant. He won an Emmy for that role.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh God, I forgot all about that. And he did win an Emmy. That's not the one to forget.
Emmy award-winning voice actor David Tennant.
That's pretty cool, yeah. But yeah, I'm very excited for Tom to watch Rebels. It's so good.
Once you know who comes in, because I'm reading the EU novels. Once you know who comes in, I like. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, that name drop. Tom was like, "Who is that?" During that Ahsoka episode, who is that? I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good.
Who isn't that?
Exactly.
I have two obsessions in Star Wars. It is Palpatine and Thrawn, because I just appreciate men who appreciate art, I guess.
Yeah.
Ballet.
Yeah. Saman Calamari ballet. That is a very sophisticated evil man. I agree, though. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, Thrawn is so good. I can't wait for whatever is going to happen with that. Tom doesn't know yet, but Tom will.
I will. I'm looking forward to it.
So, I'm curious. You have an article which is linked in the show notes of this about Star Wars and religion, where you spoke to a professor from the University of Chicago, right?
Yes.
And so I read that article. You had sent a YouTube thing of one of his lectures, which I listened to. It was really fascinating.
It's so good.
But can you share a little bit, which you go into a little bit in the article, of your upbringing and how that came in? Because this is where I think you and Tom are going to have a lot more in common. Tom is Irish Catholic through and through, went spent his whole life in Catholic school. Star Wars is my religion, so that can probably tell you about my upbringing, where that was. But it was something that, maybe some couples would have a hard time having one person religious and one that's not so religious. But for us, if anything, I think early on, it made us a lot better of a couple, I think, because we were able to find respect in the way that each other looked at the bigger questions and try to learn something from one another instead of being, you know what I mean? I think we've actually learned to enjoy the differences. And now that we have three little dudes, like, they kind of know the dad believes in God and daddy doesn't, and their questions about all of those things, it's been interesting. So I'm really excited to hear your relationship with that. Tom, a few episodes ago, talked about him as a gay man and his relationship with the Catholic Church and all of those things, and how, a lot of queer people, religion is a tough thing sometimes, I think, to navigate through. Even not as a religious person. That's the lens in which we're always looked through as queer people. Not always, but a good majority of the time. That's the negative things are said. That is the excuse to have a negative opinion about things. So even someone like me who's not religious, that upbringing has affected me in my being a queer person throughout most of my life. So I'm really curious about how that is all about.
So I said I had a sheltered upbringing. Part of that was the military stuff. Part of that was I come from a very Catholic family. And growing up, I kind of used it as I was in the Catholicism fandom. Like, I was reading up about all the saints, and I used that as, like, one of the things I was enthusiastic about. I loved the stories behind it. I loved, like, oh my gosh, there's so much lore here. And as I grew up, I realized that, maybe I was different from everybody else in certain ways. So I thought, I am obviously not called to, the cookie cutter cishet, like, you're going to marry a man and you're going to have a large Catholic family and that's how you're going to serve the Lord. So I assumed that meant I should be a nun, because I am assigned female at birth. So that was, if you're not this, then you're that. So over the latter, I was only in Catholic school because I was all over the place. I was only in Catholic school for the last half of high school. And during that time, I was thinking very seriously about becoming a nun. I went to the National Catholic Youth Conference in 2017, which, if you don't know, is Comic-Con for Catholic teens.
Okay.
I've never heard
people dress up.
You are so right.
People were dressing up. There's so many merch. People were like, oh my gosh, that's Matt Maher. What? Like, I got Jesse Van Houston to sign my thing. Like, Catholic celebrities were there. And there, of course, there's panels. And one of the panels was from Daughter of St. Paul. The Daughters of St. Paul are an amazing, like, convent and order of religious sisters who dedicate themselves to education through media. So a lot of them have Twitter accounts. They do little TikToks about whether they prefer Lent or Advent. It's adorable. And they, like, look at media through a Catholicism lens. It's really fascinating stuff. Reading about, what the Mandalorian can teach us about the manger and that kind of things. So I went to a talk by one of the sisters on sacramentality in the Hunger Games. And I was obsessed. I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do. And then I realized, okay, I just need to go through college, and then I can decide whether this nun thing is for me or not. Then I went to women's college, and then everything came a lot clearer that, yeah, that is God has other plans for me. And I discovered that I am queer, I am gender fluid, so this is the path that I need to be on, my little secular kind of trying to forge my own relationship with my religion. But that's still a huge part of my personality is, the guilt and the knowledge of history and the obsession with ceremony kind of stuck with me. And I don't know how to define my relationship with my religion currently. I'm trying to define the relationship with myself currently, and then I'll get to that. But I think that the whole thing I had with NCYC and that panel kind of put me on the path I am today. So being able to look back on that, and after that article went out, the sister who gave that talk reached out to me and was like, I read your article, it was so good. And I was just like, what?
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very full circle moment for me. But
that's really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, they I don't have any regrets. I don't think that I think if I wasn't raised in Catholicism, I would have a completely different personality, and I like my personality. I know it was sheltering. I know that I wasn't allowed to watch the end of Revenge of the Sith until I was a lot older, and that sucked. But I didn't miss out on much.
Yeah.
And it had let me to look at things through a religious studies lens that I thought serves, especially Star Wars, a lot.
1,000%. Like, that's something that I like listening to Tom about. He hasn't talked about a lot, but he does sometimes, and I always find it fascinating because it's just not something that I am close enough with to be able to like jump to that. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious about some of the things you learned from speaking with that professor, because we've always watched The Mandalorian as a queer coded show. Like I think Din is queer. It is like, I can't see him any other way. And that was really how I watched season 1 of The Mandalorian. It was really kind of a coming out story. And then season 2 is very much after you come out. I mean, and thank you for sharing your story. That's, not always easy to do, so we appreciate it. But then when you say things out loud, then comes the inner part of, okay, well, what does that, now that I put it out there and people are going to look at me differently, what does that mean to me? And there's this whole inner coming out that I think a lot of us, at least me, didn't expect to happen after I came out. Then I'm like, oh my God, I have to go through this again. And I didn't go through it until I was like in my mid-20s. I was right out of college, and I went through, I was like, oh, like, what does all this mean now? And I felt very much season 2 is very much Din dealing with the fact that he just came out. Now the world sees him differently, and how that's changing him as a character. And then you put on top of it an adoptive father. And now he's really embraced his fatherhood, which makes the end of the season very heartbreaking for us. But like as two guys who have adopted 3 children so far through the foster system, like that adoption process as a queer person has like really like, I can't see the show any other way, unfortunately, at least right now. But I'm so excited to hear some of the stuff that you learned and think about it with that different lens. If that, like, I'm really excited to see it as something else, because I think the show is so good. I think it's top-notch storytelling, and the fact that it can be our main character has a helmet and wears a suit of armor that so many of us can put on to figure things out how we need to figure out is just so brilliant, and I love it. So I'm here to hear like a different perspective. And I'm really curious how this is going to go for Mr. Barry over there.
Yeah, like one of the main things I had watching, well, first of all, when I first started watching Mandalorian season 2, I realized, every single episode is a different genre. Like that was one of the first things that come in. First episode, it's a Western. It is 100% a Western. Then the next time, it's like Fifth Element. Like he's like a taxi driver, and then like Collateral. It's a taxi driver movie, and so on and so forth. So I thought, oh, this is so cool. We get to see the same character go through all these different genres and learn more about himself along the way. And then when Bo-Katan entered, and he was like, she says, "You're part of the Children of the Watch." Which explains, the big plot hole about, in the Clone Wars, we see them take off their helmets all the time, and all of a sudden Din can't. That is when it clicked for me, like, oh, he's an extremist, fundamentalist sect. And that's when the religious studies element kicked in for me. And I compared it a lot. Everybody I talked to had a different opinion on it. Some people thought, oh, it's like Judaism and, ultra-Orthodox Judaism. Or it's like Protestantism and fundamentalist Christian. Or for me, it was, there's Catholicism and then there's this ultra-conservative sect who denied the Second Vatican Council, which basically their pope was a guy in Montana for a while. These super conservative sects. And the more I realized that, because he didn't realize that that there were any other kind of Mandalorians. Mm-hmm. And I related to that a lot because I didn't realize that my upbringing wasn't normal for a very long time. I love my upbringing. I mean, my mom's upstairs. She's the greatest. But at the same time, I didn't realize, my rules were different than everybody else's rules. So I related a lot to that aspect. And then in terms of, the queerness, the fact that he has to, defend his way of life over and over against people who called him zealous and called him, a cult member. As queer people, that has been a talking point that people have used against queer people. It's it's a cult, they're brainwashing you, all these sorts of things. And from there, I got really into cult studies, and I'm working on an article about that right now. And but when I talked to Dr. Johnston about the cultness of it, he said, no, he's not part of a cult. That I don't trust Bo-Katan. I think that she's lying to him. I think that she's in the minority. I think that there's a lot more significance to the Children of the Watch than we think. And him taking off his helmet is not him denying his faith. It's him trying to reshuffle his priorities and realizing that the best way he can defend his faith, a faith that's built on protecting foundlings, is to take off his helmet. And that just snapped everything into a different perspective to me. And I realized, oh, this isn't a crisis of faith. This is him proving that he knows what matters in his life most.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love when you said that. I've been out over 50% of my life now. So I know more of a life as being an open gay guy than not. But once we had kids, it's interesting because, like you said, sometimes there's the shuffling of priorities. Mm-hmm. And not that I hop in the closet at all, but I'm a dad first now. That's the thing that defines the choices I make and the way the world sees me now. They don't see me just as a queer dude walking down the street. Now I'm a dad first, and that's what they see. And then when you're a dad, they assume you're straight and you're married and all of, that's just most of our kids, that's the assumption. And I really like when you mentioned that. It was interesting.
Dais, you said something that just brought back an experience in my life. And like Brian said, a little bit about my background is from kindergarten to high school, all through Catholic school, nuns, priests. And I don't regret it. I'm so thankful to have had that opportunity. My parents are very, they go to church every Sunday. They will watch it on Zoom ever since COVID-19 came around. My father's an usher. So, we're very steeped in the church. It's important to them. And it's important to me as well. But because of that, and being a gay man, I, kind of still need to live under some rules through the church. They're unsaid. They're not spoken. And a time, and Brian would remember this, there was a time where my parents were actually married for 50 years. And there was a party. And I actually was, and it was unsaid, but it was said, but I wasn't allowed to bring my husband. And it was right around that time. And now, mind you, I was part of the party paying for it. All the siblings were paying for it. And it was like the last straw. And just going back to what we're all talking about here, you have to choose your priorities. Right during that time, Brian and I were preparing our lives for some child to come into our life. And although I was out for many years, probably 10 plus, and abided by the familial rules that were said or unsaid through religion or not through religion, sometimes I look back and I wonder, but I knew because I was going to be a parent, it was the last time. It was the last time. It was the turning point where I realized, wow, I'm not a parent yet, but I will be a parent, and I can no longer live under those rules. And something you just said, a story you shared, it just made me think to myself, wow, that was my defining moment where I had to choose. I had to now take off my helmet like the Mandalorian. And although my child had not arrived yet, I can tell that I would no longer be able to live under those rules. And it was because there was something more important at that point in time. And I feel when Mando removed that mask, he realized there was something more important at that time. And now, fast forward, we're probably almost 5 years away from that time. But how interesting. It was a very defining moment in my life, in my relationship with my husband, and it absolutely prepared me to be a better parent. And I no longer live under that rule any longer. And the interesting thing is, my family doesn't either. So it's just very, very interesting, very interesting. So thank you.
And it's not like religion is no longer, important. Religion is still important. It's just about reshuffling your priorities and realizing that, you're a dad first and, a religious person second, and that it's not him denying his faith at all. It's not him being like, I'm going to become a Mandalorian Protestant. Like, that's not how that works. It's him doubling. If anything, it shows that he's even more faithful because he's willing to put that part of the way before the don't let anyone see your face part.
Yeah, that actually speaks a lot to the watch. That still is, the foundlings are the priority. These other things are there, but those are the priority. It's interesting because like now we didn't see the armor this whole season. We had some round tables last year to rewatch the first season. We called the armor our drag mother, and that she was this person that Din went to, obviously when he was a foundling, to kind of show this new way of life, right? Just like a lot of young queer kids, there was someone who was a drag performer and they had their drag mother. We talked about all these things and how they're, people have gay uncles sometimes or whatever. A lot of queer people have to find an older person to help guide them because our life is not easy necessarily all the time, and it's not written that way. Society's not written for that. And then kind of at the turn of this, I started to wonder, well, is the armor a villain? But
the armor is a priest.
Yeah, I love what you just said, because they're like, okay, that's the easy road to take, that Din's just going to take his helmet off and now be free, and that's what the audience wants to see, and the armor is now the villain, and how dare, but I don't know if that's the way it's going to go either. It's a lot more interesting. She's the priest. I love it.
She's got a very clear-cut view of things. Did you let anybody see your face? Yes or no? There's no, was there a point where you unnecessarily, when you took off your mask in vain kind of thing, did you let anyone see your face? That's what she says. And that brings into mind what Bo-Katan says when she introduces herself, because they have that dichotomy between Bo-Katan and Mando illustrates how vast majority of people treat their religion in one way or another. So Bo-Katan's like, I am from this clan. This is my history. I am Mandalorian as a race. And Mando, as, an adopted part of the way, he's like, no, Mandalorian is our religion. So it's looking at it through like an ethnic way, and then like a religious creed kind of way. And that part, I think lots of people have kind of glanced over that, the fact that Bo-Katan could really be a villain in season 3. That's my guess. Is that she's going to realize that, she's going to realize that the only thing standing between her and the Darksaber is a guy who wasn't even born on Mandalore, but calls himself the Mandalorian and follows the Mandalorian way more strictly than she does.
Well, what's not, I don't see enough, is in Clone Wars, when Maul takes it, and she became a night owl, was because she left Death Watch and said, Mandalore will never be ruled by a non-Mandalorian. And she flew out the window. And the next time we saw her, she was a night owl, and she redefined who she was. She was a little bit softer going forward. She was much softer in Rebels than she was for a good chunk of Clone Wars. But this Bo-Katan, to me, was a lot more close to Death Watch Bo-Katan that we met, at the beginning of Rebels. And
yeah, she's a lot more hardened.
Yeah, and she just lost the Darksaber again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I don't know if she's going to be a full-on villain, but I certainly believe she's going to be the antagonist of Din. And it's interesting, they're trapped on a little command center on a ship right now with nowhere to go. And what this is going to mean for that is really interesting. And then the idea of the Darksaber is not really a weapon. Right now in Mandalorian, to the people who have just seen The Mandalorian, it looks like a kick-ass lightsaber weapon. But it is so much more than that. It's really a religious, metaphor. It's religion. It is a cross. It is a rosary bead. It's all of those things. It's
a religious symbol.
Yeah, it's that. And for, that's how I would imagine will be portrayed by season 3. And that conversation. And Din doesn't really know what it is yet. But you said, Bo-Katan, if that's who she was born as, but Din Djarin, it chooses it as his religion. He doesn't know what he's holding right now. Is it going to be something more to him as a religious symbol? As a religious follower of Mandalore? I was so excited in season 1 that Darksaber came. I was like, oh my God. Because I didn't really know what the show was about. Even after season 1, I'm like, I don't really know where this is going. And then that Darksaber came and I was like, oh, we're in it now. We're gonna get in the weeds.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
I honestly wasn't really feeling it until The Believer in chapter 15, when that entire episode, sure, it was a heist or whatever, but that entire episode was dedicated to, what will you do for what you love? And it's weird that, the big thematic speech was given by Bill Burr, but it was when he said, what even is a Mandalore? Can you take off your helmet or can you? And the Empire and the Republic, it's all the same to these people. These sorts of conversations where, looking at it from a bigger picture, everybody has their own thing that they follow, whether that's everybody has their fandom, whether it's Star Wars or religion or politics, everybody has the thing that they believe in. And I think that my original, and now looking back on this is totally fanfic, but what I thought was going to happen when the first episode, I thought that Cobb Vanth was going to come across Boba Fett and Boba will be like, oh, you have my armor? Well, you're a good guy. I'm going to let you keep it. It's of no use to me anymore. And then he would have a conversion story where he goes through with Mando and learns the way, and then he reforges his... I had a whole thing about it. I thought it was going to be so good.
Oh, no, it's going to happen because Cobb Vanth is going to realize, Din Djarin is going to come back to Tatooine and say, you know what? I've understood priorities, and I fell in love with you the minute I saw you. I'm going to take my helmet off so we can kiss each other. We're going to get married. We're going to go find Grogu, and we're going to take these other Force-sensitive kids, and we're going to raise them, and we're just going to have like a happy life in the stars in this new spaceship. We're going to call it, Razor Crest 2.0, and it's going to have like extra bunks because I am a Din Cobb stan through and through. And
we've had a lot of conversations about this.
Look, if we're going to go fanfic, we may as well go full fanfic.
Exactly.
Right.
And Omar can come in. I'm cool. You want to have that? Great. We're here for it. They can all have a beautiful, lovely triad and love one another and show the world that other relationships can exist out there.
It's so cool that you guys can find that sort of representation in, because as a gender fluid person, the closest thing to representation in Star Wars is, I think he's a she and I think she's a changeling. Like that's the closest we got.
Wow.
Yeah. You gotta really fight for it. But if you squint, it kind of works.
No, 100% actually.
Yeah,
100%, and down to how you choose to present yourself too is really actually fascinating.
Yes, and that's why I love writing, because I can kind of hide behind my words, because I'm very small. I can't really present as masculine as I want to most of the time. So being able to be, like, sometimes Star Wars fans who do not love what I write, which is totally fine. I mean, sometimes people bring corrections. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Sometimes they're like, what even is this bro doing? And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for validating me. That's so nice.
Oh my God, I love your perspective on everything. It's like a ray of sunshine all the time. The cloudiest day. Nope, I saw a glint of light on that little raindrop, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I love it. That is so...
Well, it's like what you got to do when you're working and trying to dig out the good stuff and what a fandom that can get kind of cynical, which is fine. I mean, I didn't like The Rise of Skywalker either. I think that when you look back at Star Wars' roots, which is Joseph Campbell and the Power of Myth, which is, I've learned, is not the best book from a religious studies perspective, but it is the Bible from a screenwriting perspective. Mm-hmm. So when I was interviewing Dr. Russell Johnston, he was thinking like, it's not that great of a book, religious studies. I'm like, that is literally, I'm going to get monomyth tattooed on my knuckles. Like that is 100% my Bible. Looking at that and how all stories are circular and all stories say the same thing. And George Lucas, he used the Power of Myth and Hero with 1,000 Faces as his code. So there's one of my favorite anecdotes about Star Wars is that when Joseph Campbell saw, he was the first person to see the original trilogy all in a row, and supposedly after last credits rolled, he said, "I thought art had ended with Picasso. I was wrong." Which is so preposterous. But it's good to think that, it started with a guy who is so fanatically obsessed with stories. Yep. And I think that then George Lucas took over and he was obsessed with his obsession with stories. And over the time, I think Dave Filoni absolutely is obsessed with stories. Jon Favreau. I think I'm a Rian Johnson stan. That's fine. Yep. That's me. I think that I'm here for that too. This entire cycle and every single Star Wars movie. You can see it in Solo. You can see it in Rogue One. I stand by that, and you can see it in episodes of King of the Hill. That was one of my things I did in screenwriting class was finding the story elements in that. And it all comes back to myth and it all comes back to religion. I think that Star Wars is the modern myth in a way that there's, stuff, but there's also legends. There's also fan lore. There's also people using that to teach themselves lessons about their own life. There's also people using it to find, representation. It's sculptable, it's moldable in a way where you can make it what you want.
Yep. I mean, honestly, because you can't live in the United States of America and not have an understanding of religion, how it dictates everything that we do. And it's always been a struggle for me. I have a few poems and stuff that I wrote in junior high and high school, and it's always been a struggle for me to understand. But Star Wars for me was where I went to find those kinds of answers that are bigger than yourself and find a guiding light to make the right choice. That was always what Star Wars was. And so therefore it was always super, like, I was selfish about it in a way, not in the, like, how dare you look at it, but it was like, it was my cozy, warm blanket, right? Then I had to learn how to share it with my kids, which I'm super excited to do, but it was harder than I thought, which we've talked about. I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm here for it, but it took me a minute. And then it wasn't until Din Djarin that I think I really related to a character. I related to the myth and the ideals of who I want to be. When I was little, I looked up to Luke Skywalker. That's who I wanted to be. As I got older, I looked up to Ahsoka of who to be. That is like she is like my golden standard of how to operate as a good human being, and she will always be my light. I follow, my little Morai up in the sky all the time is my guide. But Din was the first person for me that I saw myself in Star Wars. And it was really, I didn't recognize it until after season 1 was done for a while. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is me. It's me. I have never had that before. And I'm very, very grateful. And I want that for other people. I mean, I want someone to be an out character, and not in a book and not in those things, but like we need that representation. It wasn't until Tom and I have talked about this a lot on the podcast, until we started it, to understand what like how important it really is. Maybe some of it's our age, and it was just such a way of life, unfortunately, that it wasn't there, that we just, not that I don't feel like we even thought we weren't worthy of it, but it was just not an option. And that's so weird. And it wasn't until doing the podcast and listening, I'm like, wait, this is actually an option. And now that I know it's an option, why are we not doing it? We're still carrying on. And then after the last 4 years with a certain someone up in the White House it's really important. Because a lot of people got very comfortable with old ways of thinking that I thought were kind of gone, but they've gotten very loud and vocal again. So this is really, really important, So
it's funny you bring that, because one of the things that brought me into screenwriting and production from like a creator standpoint, not just a critic standpoint, was a rise of, because I was a teen at that point, I was very much an 18-year-old, was this rise of people creating web series versions of classic books, but at making them queer. So, like, the summer of 2018, I made my friend and I made a web series where I was a gender fluid Jack Worthing and Importance of Being Earnest. Like, these kind of things where, what if, Qi'ra de Bergerac was a trans woman? All these sorts of things of kind of changing the way that we look at stories. And now that I'm in Star Wars, I see that all over the place. Like, I'm pretty dang sure Cobb Vanth is bi. Like, I'm pretty dang sure. And yeah, we have canon queer characters. I mean, Dr. Aphra, I love Dr. Aphra myself because she's amazing. Also, in one of her novels, they introduced the concept of a Jedi confessional, which is, hello, Catholicism. But
oh my gosh, no one has brought that up in so long. I forgot that even was a thing.
It's a Kyberite confessional where you go and do reconciliation. That's a sacrament.
Oh, Aphra comes through and through every time. That's funny.
Every single time. But I think that the Acolyte, this is my harebrained theory, mark it down now. The Acolyte is where we're going to get that. And also the Acolyte is going to bring in the elements of my other favorite non-canon book, Darth Plagueis, because we need a show about Teen Palpatine, and it needs to be called Palpatine. And and I need to write it. But I feel like
Saved by the Bell Star Wars edition.
Exactly. Like, I feel like the Acolyte is where we're going to get all of these sorts of, like, I trust Leslie Headland with my life. I feel like she will bring all that in and make it interesting and use Star Wars not as a lore, but as a sandbox. I've preached that through and through, is that Star Wars is not a set of rules. Star Wars is a set of tools and worlds and characters that you can use as a dollhouse. And you can go on AO3 and see that all over the place, or you look at the future of Star Wars as a whole and realize that this is way bigger than just the Force. I want to see a Star Wars show without any Force in it whatsoever.
I love the way you see Star Wars. Like we were talking about that. Like I'm here for it. I can't imagine Star Wars without a Skywalker. Like, I'm not saying I don't want it, but I cannot even fathom not having a Skywalker somehow tied to something in some way, shape, or form. Like, it's the end of The Mandalorian is really tough for me because I'm really upset with Luke. I think it was a brilliant story choice. But I, like, on a personal level, I'm really upset he's making the wrong decisions. And he's becoming too much like his father, which I also love how that led to the person that we meet in The Last Jedi, and how some of those decisions he's making now led to where he, like, so I think it's all brilliant, but on a personal level, I'm like, how dare you? like you're going about this the wrong way. You need to run into Ahsoka so she can set you straight on that. You don't just take kids. Don't do it. But I'm really excited for the Acolyte too. And I agree with you. And I think that was one of the things that I was upset, I think, the most with The Rise of Skywalker was I feel, in watching it a year later, like JJ somehow, to me, started to disrespect not only George Lucas, not only Dave Filoni, but Joseph Campbell too, and somehow got his hubris got to him, and he thought he was above all of those things. There's all this lore there that he could have tapped into and used it like a dollhouse. I'm going to redefine how a Sith holocron can work. Or a Jedi holocron. I can redefine how those things are. I can honor the myth of what came before it, but instead they tried to rewrite it. And it really, like, there's so much. I mean, it gave me Rey Skywalker. I talk about that all the time, and I love that ending so much. I think it was a beautiful choice. I think it's very on, like, that was a very Star Wars moment. But so much of it was just like, instead of saying goodbye to it, I'm going to try to rewrite 40 years of history in 2.5 hours. And it was it felt so weird. And so that's what, like, when people love it, I want to hear why they love it. And I love it when they can talk to me in Star Wars, like a Star Wars love language, for me to go, okay, I didn't see it that way. And I love that you found it that way because I didn't. And I enjoy your way of looking at it much more than mine. But that's kind of how I feel. Like, even Rian Johnson, when everyone says that, you know, they're mad about stuff, that was Luke. I mean, you said you're in the middle of Legends right now. I never was able to fully get into Legends because I didn't like that Luke Skywalker.
You didn't like clone Luke Skywalker with 2 U's?
Yeah, no, like, Yoda says, once you go down a dark path, forever will dominate your destiny. And Legends, for the most part, because that wasn't Luke, that was Luke making bad choices. Luke was still this holy, perfect, he was like a New Hope Luke. And they skipped over what he learned, the path that he started to go down to in Empire, and who he ultimately became in Jedi. And they skip over those things and just wrote a New Hope Luke with a lightsaber. And I'm like, so at least when The Last Jedi came, like, oh my God, like, someone actually put together, they finished the road that Luke had been walking down all of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, like, and there it is. That maybe the light side isn't as light as you think.
Exactly.
And maybe the Jedi are also an oppressive religious sect. Because one of the things that I felt really strongly about is that, you know, the relationship between Grogu and Din was so strong. I thought it was going to rewrite the way that Jedi look at familial relationships, because I feel like that strengthens Grogu's powers more than it, like, gets in the way because of attachments or whatever.
Oh, I love the way you see Star Wars. Like, you need to come onto one of our live streams sometime with Emma, and you and Emma can talk about the Jedi, and I can just sit there and nod in agreement, because the two of you will be able to articulate it far better than I ever would be able to. But yes, no, 100%. So do better, Luke. Do better. Well, thank you so much. Honestly, I hope to have you back again. This was really interesting. I love the way you see Star Wars. I love the way you write about it. And now that we've been able to have a conversation, I think I love that stuff even more. So, yeah.
And I have to say, I love the way you think. I literally have felt transformed just listening to you the last hour. I mean, I'm hoping that I don't have to now analyze every show because I'm going to think about it before I start watching them now, and I'm going to think of you. But honestly, your mind is amazing. Yeah. I'm so impressed, and thank you for sharing this time with us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Literally anytime. I love talking about these things, talking about preaching about stories in general. My family's sick of that. So.
Well, we will pop popcorn next time. We will just sit here and listen and eat away. And not in a mean Giphy eat popcorn sort of way. No, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
So I am at The Good Old Days on Twitter with a DAIS. I have a weekly Substack where I catalog every single thing I watch hour by hour, which is a lot, and recommend what's good. And that is called Streaming Field Guide. It's also on my Twitter. And I write at inverse.com. I've interviewed all sorts of people. I interviewed Rahul Kohli twice last year, which was amazing. He talked about Ezra Bridger. And I also am part of a Zoom internet troupe, the Cobalt Internet Theater. And we do live stream readings of sitcom episodes and movies and fun stuff like that.
Awesome. And I just keep on looking at the world with that beautiful ray of sunshine you do, because it's amazing.
I name myself
really
Days.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so very, very, very much. We appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to having you back sometime.
I love that.
Awesome.
And
thank you.
We're back. What'd you think, Pop?
I have to tell you, I'm deep in thought at this moment.
I can tell.
I'm amazed at Days' mind.
Yep.
I'm moved. I'm literally moved by the entire thing.
Honestly. I can't wait for you to watch Star Wars now. I'm telling you, you're starting to cross the line. It's like not forced with a capital F anymore. I feel like it's forced with a lowercase
I'm still
F.
hanging on to the edge of the pool with my hands, though. Mm-hmm. I'm not ready to swim all the way out to the super fan, or what would really be next for me anyway. We should really define those categories. Forced to listen to...
We can probably remove the at best. Leave it at casual fan.
I don't know. I think it's an ode to Laura, though. And I loved Laura. I love when we see her online and all of that stuff. So
I love Force Toast. I listen to Force Toast all the time. They're my girls. Yeah, honestly, this was such a good interview. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed listening to and having that conversation. I guess is probably the better way to put it. But I mean, honestly, I'm proud of this. I'm proud of this conversation. I think this is a great start to the new year.
And I feel lucky to have been able to have that conversation, too.
Yeah, 100%, actually.
Yeah.
Lucky. 100%.
I feel like I could have listened to them talk for much longer, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope they come back. I really like Days a lot. That was really, really, really great. And I hope someone's parents are very proud of them.
They should be.
Because that very much outlook on life is pretty infectious, I have to say. Infectious.
It's almost as if, though, they gave me permission to go back. Because, I've always said, I like to live in fairy tale forests. I like to see the positive. We've had those conversations. Is Twitter positive? Is Twitter negative? But even just in listening to Days, you can see what they have taken out of it.
Yep.
And that opened my mind, and we've been kicking around, getting Tom on Twitter. We were supposed to do it today, so we'll see, folks. We'll see.
No, we're going to put it on mic now.
Ooh.
As of the time you're listening to this, you're going to be able to follow Tom on Twitter.
That's true, because we're going to do it.
At @T_sips_pink_milk.
What if we can't get that handle? Do they call it a handle?
They call it a handle. You'll be able to get the handle.
Okay.
Again.
You sure?
If not, don't follow him there. Yes. And I'm going to put you in the show notes below so they can just click a link and watch. You're going to have thousands of followers straight away.
Thousands.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have thousands.
Do 1,000 people really want to hear me talk?
I think they do. You're the star of the show, Tom.
Yeah.
I had to give myself
I want to raise.
I had to give myself 2 podcasts just to like try to like outshine your shine, and it didn't happen. No, honestly,
Well said,
I am really thankful that this was kind of your and I's first podcast of the year. Mm-hmm. It's really awesome. Yeah, I agree. I'm very moved. So, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed listening to it as much as we had recording it, like we said. So, let us know. Give us a tweet, shoot us an email. You can tweet at us at servingpinkmilk, and you can follow us on Instagram at servingpinkmilk. You can head on over to servingpinkmilk.com and shoot us an email. Let us know what you thought. If you have any other questions for Dais, follow them on Twitter. That will be linked below. But I think you have to be nice because they've curated who they follow. So please be nice and don't send any nastiness their way.
Yes, be nice.
Yeah. I mean, how could you? Don't rain on that sunshine.
For sure, honestly.
Yeah, because that's unnecessary. Don't forget to follow us on Friday nights with Pink Milk After Dark, where Emma, Mark, and myself all deep dive into Star Wars. And we don't know what we're doing yet for this Friday, but we're going to figure it out.
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise to all of us. But you can find us on YouTube. We finally have our own URL, so you can go to youtube.com/C/Pink Milk Podcast, and that will be linked below as well. It's been a lot of fun. That's been a lot of fun. I can't believe... Again, like we've done a whole podcasting for an entire year now. This is pretty crazy.
Wow.
And I think you finally hopped on board after our last conversation last week of really upping our game this year. Like,
I hopped on the train.
come on, baby. Ride that train. Choo, choo. Come on, ride it. Ride that train. Choo, choo. Are you ready, Thomas?
I'm ready,
We got to
Brian.
go hop on that train, so it's time to drink up.
Drink up.